You're listening to M.T.V.B. Podcast. Movies, TV, video and board games. This show may contain swearing.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of the M.T.V.B. podcast, the podcast that talks about movies, TV shows, video games and board games. I'm your host Anthony, as well as most people know me as the Ant-Man, and welcome to episode 3, which we'll be talking about board games. And on this today I have two guests with me on the show, two very good friends of mine and who absolutely love board games, and these guys even have their own podcast shows based on board games. They're very kind to join me on the show today to talk with me and why they love board games that much. So first off, let's go around the table and introduce ourselves.
Hello, I'm Simon, and I am one of the co-hosts of Board Stupid with my good friend Wayne.
Hello, my name's Jason. I'm one of the co-hosts on the podcast with Crawley Gaming Community.
Guys, thank you very much for coming on the show today and taking the time out of your podcast to come onto this podcast and talk about the things you love.
Thanks for having us here, dude.
Definitely, man.
Yeah,
we
thank
all
you
love
guys.
the podcast, man. Podcasts all around.
Don't we all? So, so first off, again, thank you for coming. And who wants to go first? I think we should go around the table and pretty much go around our history as to why we love board games and why we have podcasts based on board games. So who'd like to go first?
Well, I'll pick up here. Why not? I still class myself as an enthusiastic amateur, as opposed to your good selves who are...
I think I'm more amateur than you are, to be honest.
I'm not sure. Jason's definitely the pro here. He's literally got his own T-shirt that's of his podcast on. So,
it's all an illusion. I ain't no pro.
In terms of history with board games, though, I think, as with most people growing up through the 80s and 90s, we all had a similar kind of deal of what I'd call more pop-type board games. You know, your very obvious stuff. So you've got your Kaplunk and your Buckaroo and... I'm
those amazing kids.
I'm going to lean away from Jason as I say Monopoly.
Damn it! I was going to bring that up.
Ant's a bit more safe than you are. Like he's over the other side of the table.
Man, yeah, it's all
So
good.
what was that game called again?
Monopoly.
Oh, God.
I had to get it in there somewhere.
I enjoyed board games. I think about as much as anyone else, but they were never like the main thing. There was definitely a wide break between the current modern era of board gaming, which I've only got into more in the last kind of 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, same as
back in the day. As I say, it was the more readily available stuff. Has stuff like Ghost Castle.
Oh my God, I still have Ghost Castle. Me and my daughter play that game.
I have it somewhere. I've recently lost my glow-in-the-dark skull.
No,
it is genuinely upsetting me, and I have no idea where I put it.
I'm not going to lie. If I lost part of a game, I'd be tearing the house apart trying to find it.
Well, I'm a fairly tidy person, and I've gone through everywhere I might think it would be, so I've no idea what's happened to that. So hopefully that will turn up at some point. Ghost Castle stands out as a good favourite from back then.
There was so much detail to that game at the time. Like all the backgrounds were brilliant and stuff.
I watched a little recap video earlier on YouTube just to remind myself some of that artwork, and it's really anthemic and quite evocative artwork on that for what it is, which is essentially two pieces of cardboard which slot together, and then some cutouts and little plastic doodly doos.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I love playing that game, and the kind of creepy nature of it, and the
what was the white face you put on the characters called?
You had on each of your turns you had a little spinner to choose whether you'd move forward a space, whether you'd roll the dice, whether you drop the skull down the tower, or whether you got frightened because you're creeping around.
That's it. I can remember if it was like frightened or petrified or something like that.
Yeah, essentially that. So if you got frightened, you'd put the little plastic mask on your character piece, and I think you'd lose a turn.
Okay.
So it was a bit.
Oh yeah, because you had to get another part of the wheel to take it off. You had so many turns, didn't you? And then you could take the mask off or something.
Yeah, I think maybe if you if you spam the dice on your next turn,
Something
you can
like
take it off
that,
straight
yeah.
away. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you'd be on for 2 or 3. I can't quite remember the rules, but yeah, the little bits of peril in there that if you land on one of the red feet and then
That's it. That was close to the traps, wasn't it?
yeah. And
you were in danger.
yeah, so until you get to your next turn, you get the chance to move off it. You're going to be there, and I think there's like a 1 in 4 chance that skull might pop out and drop the axe or knock you off the plank
Or
or
the stairs. It goes down the stairs.
tip you down the stairs
That's
and
it.
crush you. I don't remember if you have to go back to the beginning of that room or to the beginning of the game, or maybe you're just out altogether.
I honestly can't remember. I think you go back to a certain part of. I think the feet were coloured that you walked on, and I
red,
think you
white,
go
and
back to
green.
a certain bit.
Maybe it's the previous green one then. But
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
a very, very, very simple game,
Yeah.
but massively enjoyable.
Oh, it was so good that game. I remember that.
Something much more I say complicated relative to these days, not at all. But do you remember Key to the Kingdom?
Oh my god! Do you know what? I actually have that in my notes. I was going to mention
you?
that earlier. I friggin' love Key to the Kingdom. That is one of my childhood board games.
This is where you say I'm a pro. I don't remember that.
Do you not remember Key to the Kingdom?
I genuinely don't
My
remember
God.
Key to the
They
Kingdom.
have a copy at the comic shop in Crawley, so we will go and play it there. I think I've still got my copy as well somewhere. You had a board game about 2 foot by 3 foot, maybe. Lots of different tiles around. So again, you roll a dice, you move your character along. Basic premise being you're an adventurer of some sort. You need to go and find the hidden treasure, which is the key to the kingdom. But dotted around the map are different dungeons and traps and so on.
Monsters.
You need to avoid.
It's amazing.
At certain points, there's 2 whirlpools.
Oh,
on the
please
board.
tell him what happens when you go to the whirlpool.
And when you land in that whirlpool, the board opens and you end up with a board about 6 foot
It's
long.
amazing. It's so
And
good.
That's pretty
if
cool.
you're on the other side of the board as it opens or closes, you've got like 2 or 3 turns to get into the whirlpool and evade it. Otherwise,
right.
you're out of the game.
and it smashes onto you, doesn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
I'm guessing I was just one of the guys that ended up going down the Hero Quest route.
Oh my god! Damn it! I was going to mention that as well. Damn, stop.
Should we just let you do the
No,
talking to
no.
start
Hero
with?
Quest was amazing. That was such a good game.
That was definitely my gateway into.
Did you do Space Crusader as well?
I'm pretty sure I did.
It's like the sci-fi version
My
of Hero
memory
Quest.
is terrible. You know, that's probably why I don't remember these games. But I always remembered Hero Quest because I actually still play it fairly regularly. But I remember that being my gateway into the start of my hobby, which was wargaming. And you know, I've done wargaming now for over 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me feel incredibly old.
I've seen the cover of Hero Quest countless times. I don't think I've ever played it.
That is
still amazed
something we're
that-
going to have to get you to
Yeah.
play. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely up for that. So alongside those 2 kind of highlights for me and Monopoly, which I did enjoy, and Cluedo. Oh, I loved a bit of Cluedo as well. They're kind of a pair of games in my head.
Yeah.
Monopoly and Cluedo were the 2 things that
Pretty much the same as well.
sat side by side.
Always the games that came out at Christmas time.
As dirty as it feels, you know, I did grow up playing Monopoly and Cluedo and all of that, you know.
I think Cluedo's great. You got that a bit of social deduction almost, and trying to work out the secrets. Can you trust whoever's in there? I seem to remember not very frequently finishing the game though. I don't know if we were just slow at playing, or maybe not as bright as I thought I was. But
I think it was one of those games that you got about like halfway through, people started getting bored, so they just started chucking out wild accusations. At which point the game became pointless.
That's it.
Or mum was dragged into play, and then she had to go and start making the dinner. So she's, oh, you boys finished.
Then you look at her notes and cheat.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you and your brother finished playing. Like, but you've got half the information that we need to play the game. It doesn't work like that. Beyond those, obviously me being a massive nerd that I am and a fan of words, played a lot of word games. So stuff like Scrabble, which I'll still play as often as I can now. Boggle, more recently Bananagrams. I don't know if you guys are aware of
I've not heard that
Bananagrams.
name.
You get a bunch of tiles similar to Scrabble tiles in their look. You get a bunch at the start of the game and then a central pool. You essentially have to make words on a crossword fashion. You can move the tiles around as and when you want.
Oh, wicked.
And you just have to race through making legitimate words in a crossword fashion until you've used all of your tiles.
Sounds like a far more intense version of Scrabble.
It's very intense, because then once you've used, I think you get 21 to start, depending on how many players there are. Once you've used all the ones that you've got, you then say peel, and everybody has to take another central tile. So if you're very quick at using your tiles, you're constantly saying peel, and the slower people have this backlog of tiles that they need to suddenly get through.
That would be me out of the game straight away.
I was going to say that's going to sound me as well.
I frustrate the people who work because I like peel, but almost instantly put the letter down, peel, instantly put the letter, peel. And like, Simon, can you slow down? So sometimes I do. I just sit there kind of fiddling with the letters going. what can I spell next? And then once in a while, a new person starts, and they are rampantly quicker than I am. Like, oh damn! I need to step my game up again. So yeah, that's kind of my history and background until we get to the more modern era of stuff. So I assume we'll kind of focus in on the modern stuff in a little while.
You can carry on if you want. If you want to carry on with that, and
Well,
then you can go into your what games you do in your podcast as well.
Well, alrighty then. So as I say, I run Board Stupid with Wayne, and he 2 to 3 years ago now introduced me to what is known as the modern era of board gaming. So that's things on a much grander scale, much more in depth. Tends to be a bit more costly, although that's not always the case. Very more thematic. So it's not just a basic, your flat snakes and ladders table.
Yep.
It is things with multiple pieces, lots of cards, decks to build, player pieces, and so on. So we've run a whole range from those. One of the earlier ones we played was Wasteland Express Delivery Service. Yeah. We've recently done an episode of that on our podcast. It's essentially a pick up and drop off game. You're a courier in a apocalyptic wasteland, trying to survive and avoid the dangers that are out there whilst making a living couriering across there. But the combination of mechanics in that is something I've not played before, so very fun.
Interesting to try something different with it, even though it's a concept of it is pretty simple.
Yeah, it's one of those games. It takes a little bit longer to pick up, so something like easy reference Monopoly. You roll a dice, you move your token, you either buy the board or you don't. Something like Wasteland Express is much more diverse. You've got 3 or 4 missions you can choose to do at any one time. So it kind of splinters off, and it all interacts with other players as well. It's got an active economy, so the more someone buys, the less it's worth. So you're constantly bartering against other people as well as trying to reach your end goal. So it's good fun.
So be honest, how many Mad Max quotes did you say you're playing that game?
Well, yeah, having become much more of a role player recently as well, I can't help but throw in my quotes when I'm in there.
Do it.
So.
That's what it's all about. Get into the game and do the quotes, mate.
Yeah, and as I say, the theme is so strong in all of these games in the more modern era, or at least from my angle. It allows you to kind of throw yourself in there. So maybe when you're playing Cluedo, you're like, I'm Professor Plum. All that meant to me at the time was I got the purple token. Now, if I was playing, I might think, oh yes, I might consider that it was the Professor Colonel Mustard.
In the study with the candlestick.
You're looking rather suspicious to me there, standing with that letter opener as you are. And then I kind of throw myself into the characterization a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I might, I'm kind of tempted to play Cluedo now with a character.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good, actually.
Really fun. They've got some new characters in there, I think, since I last played. So maybe I'll bring out the historic version
again, but that's like Monopoly. There's so many different versions of Cluedo now. That's like I think I own a Simpsons Cluedo. And
that could be fun.
There's way too many now. I think there's a Big Bang Theory version now as well, or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's very much like Monopoly. There's a Monopoly for absolutely everything. And as I was told the other day and looked into it, is actually official. They're actually making a Monopoly version of Monopoly.
I don't understand. How does...
The theme of the Monopoly board will be the Monopoly game. I have no idea how the hell that's going to work, but
confusingly meta.
I was going to say,
I mean, I'm interested to see it, but
I'm sort of picturing some kind of horrible, like 3D version where there's like walls of Monopoly, and you've got to go up the walls, and
you've got to build it and stuff.
Exactly.
Like that as well.
Oh, it just sounds like my version of hell.
We actually have to build the houses that you put on your property and stuff.
No, I'm sold. I'm I am down for that 100%. Yes.
It'd be so good if it's like a dexterity one where you can flick them down as well or something. That'd be pretty good.
Model building and board gaming.
So technically, doesn't it fall under a dexterity game when you flip the whole table up?
Yeah, and the whole thing goes.
Well, it was never the same for me when they got rid of
fuck this, I've had enough.
Never the same when they got rid of the paper money. And I think you have a credit card now. It just
I think we had that version of it as well.
I think that wasn't that just a way of like stopping people cheating, like stealing money from the bank.
That was part of the game.
Of course it was. And then they released Cheaters Edition, where the whole purpose of the game was to try and cheat and not get caught. It's like, well, I do that anyway. I don't need to buy another version.
Bloody hell.
Some other highlights from the much more recent games, and I know this has quickly become one of your favourites, Nemesis.
Oh, that was such a good game. And if it wasn't for Bored Stupid, I wouldn't have been able to play that game. So thank you for getting me into
pleasure,
to
man.
Nemesis.
We've got
That was a
expansions to come
cracking
on
game.
that.
Exactly.
You've got one of the add-ons coming, I believe.
There's Carnivore is actually coming tomorrow.
Is it?
Yeah, and I've got Jason one of his friends is going to paint the Carnivores for me.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. And there's I believe there's a king expansion, so you swap the queens over for kings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the box comes with
Like the queens aren't hard enough.
no, exactly. So you get like a king for a Carnimorph, intruder, and a void seeker all in one box. And there's no extra cards. I mean, it's literally just swap. It's a cosmetic thing.
Okay,
really.
okay.
So yeah, looking forward to getting that tomorrow, and then hopefully Jason's friend can sort me out and make him look even better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Nemesis, for those of you who might not have heard of it before, is essentially Alien, the board game, in all but the IP. You wake up on an abandoned spaceship that's half faltering through space. You have to work out what the hell's happened, where you're going, whether the ship's going to blow up, and what the hell is that noise that you keep hearing down the corridor. It is a fight for survival and constant fright and trepidation every time you move. Chances are you're going to get ambushed by some nasty, clawed, befanged, spiky-tailed, necrotic deathmonger.
Yeah, it literally is Dark Souls, the board game. Just prepare to die. I mean, I was quite cheeky on my first playthrough where I'd done all my objectives and then went to sleep. But then I completely forgot to scan my contamination cards and found out I was infected anyway. So game over, man. Game over.
Game over.
It's definitely one to get. I'm going to hold you guys to getting me to play that game because I've been wanting to play it since it came out.
I thought you played it.
I've actually not played it. I came very, very close because one of the guys that attends one of my clubs had it and he brought it down to play. But unfortunately, on that night, I had already booked in another game with someone else, and he's not brought it down since.
Okay, we'll definitely have you
so
around.
I'm
yeah.
desperate to play that
sure.
game. And it's funny you mentioned about the whole Alien theme because I don't know if you guys are aware. I know you guys are massive film buffs and love the films. Gale Force 9 have now got an actual Alien game coming out officially.
You have mentioned that to me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing
way.
how similar.
Yeah,
Really?
that's
it's
going
due
to be.
out in about a month's time, I believe.
Oh, nice.
It's
What, an actual board game or is it a card game?
No, it's an actual board game. I haven't
got some
looked-
role
they
play
haven't
element to
really,
it, I
They
think.
have got some role play in it, which is why I thought you might like it. I don't know too much about it. All I know is I did a little bit of research on it the other day, and it's currently on pre-sale for about £40. So it's
it's not that
substantially
expensive,
cheaper. It's
yeah.
actually quite a
Yeah,
good.
that's
Gale
not
Force
bad.
9 have done some good games in the past, but they've also done some real stinkers.
Oh, okay.
So-
I did look at the website, and if artwork alone can sell a game, then they're definitely doing well because it looks gorgeous. As does Nemesis. It's the artwork on these modern games really grabs me.
My main worry about it is that they've seen the success of Nemesis and have sort of gone, oh, we've got that license. Let's here you go, and it's going to be a bit of a rush.
Does kind of, especially for that
thing.
price, it kind of
Maybe,
sounds like it. Maybe,
yeah,
but I didn't even know that. Like you had me at Aliens, but I assume you'll give out more info on that on your podcast.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah?
definitely. We're keeping our ear to the ground on that one because they've actually had the license for it for about 5 years.
Oh, really?
And they've only just brought it to
Roughly
market.
the same time as Nemesis is out.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? So yeah, we're keeping our ear to the ground on that, and the fact that we've now got a pre-order and a pre-order price is a good sign.
Okay, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So stores in the UK are starting to have the pre-orders on their website, which is much better than it just being on their own website.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
let's hope that in a month's time we have a bit more information about when it's actually going to drop, or whether it does drop in a month.
Yeah, fingers
Month's
crossed.
time.
Maybe
I'd
go-
definitely be up for that.
Maybe go and see Chris and H, see if they've got it on their books as well.
definitely, yeah.
Down at the comic shop.
Yep,
Yeah,
support local.
Yeah, you got to do it.
you're right. I mean, I did with Western Legends. I went down there
Yeah, and I'm
2 days after we played it,
I'm
and I was like,
unashamedly going to keep plugging the comic shop Crawley as well as my own
Do
podcast
it,
because
yeah.
it's something that we need to do.
oh, well, I remember when we was at the comic shop, and then you said Wayne had Nemesis, and I was literally turned and was like, "What?" It's like that's something I've wanted to play for friggin' ages now, and oh man, I've got the chance to do it.
Wayne has a pretty impressive collection of games.
Crazy.
I've gotta admit. So some of the ones
Yeah.
he's got, I've just not had the chance to play, and I desperately want to play them. So now that certain restrictions are starting to be lifted. I'm hoping we can make that happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that at the moment, but I think within good caution and good reason, there's no reason why a few sensible people can't have a game of some kind with good caution there.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the things that I've had a lot of messages recently about, the reopening of both my Monday club and the community club that we run at the comic shop.
Yeah.
The likelihood is the comic shop one is going to come first, because obviously the actual Monday night gaming club is in a community centre, so I'm kind of tied by the council as to how long they want to keep that closed. But the other thing is, is the safety of it. So it'll open as soon as I feel it is safe to open it.
Yeah, being in a varied use space as well is going to be that much more limiting, because you don't know who else is going to have been in there. I mean, it's hard just to control the environment.
Yeah, pretty much the only other group I know that are in there are a preschool who are in there Monday to Friday, which, lots of kids.
You can't trust them.
You can't,
it's a shitload of cleaning after them, though, isn't it? Just to be careful and stuff, isn't it? Sometimes it's not worth the risk, is it?
No, exactly. So, it is going to be a case of, as soon as it's safe to do so, we will be back. There will probably be substantial restrictions, which also puts a bit of a dampener on it if you can't fill the hall out with gamers that have been wanting to game for months.
So the first day you open, mate, you're going to get shitloads of people coming back. Yeah, you know it.
As with many things, it's that balance of being able to open and making it worthwhile opening. It's not a business as such, but it needs to be a viable thing.
Yeah,
and I think, obviously the Monday Club is a bit easier to open technically than the Wednesday one, just purely because war games are a bit safer, because obviously you're talking about a 6 foot by 4 foot table, so people are always going to be at least 6 foot apart.
Yeah.
Whereas a board game, you're sharing pieces. Yeah, there's a lot more high risk with
more interaction, isn't it?
Yeah, this is true.
So it's just about people being careful,
being safe.
Yeah.
So without me talking endlessly about the games, because then I will have just made an extra episode of Board Stupid. Do you hear a bit about Jason's history with board gaming, where you started off and so on?
Well, I'm glad you reminded me, actually, because I completely forgot what the initial question was. Obviously I touched on it a little bit there. I started out 20 odd years ago when I was in secondary school, and I was solely wargaming. I was into Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Fantasy.
The granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I love that. I love the whole system, and I stuck with it, like I said, for about 20 years. I took a little bit of a break when I went to college.
Yeah.
As do most people, they all fall out of it and then they come back. And I actually got into board games probably about the same time as Si, believe it or not. I came in, my journey actually started on my club's first birthday, first anniversary, and it was when my friend from the Pound Hill Board Gamers came down, and we clicked instantly. He introduced me to Thanos Rising. By USAopoly. And to be fair, I fought off board games for so long, and I was the stereotypical guy that, when someone said,
board games? That's stupid. Why would you want to play that crap?
Monopoly crap,
What, you a kid again? What's all this about?
Yeah, exactly. And I fought it off for a long time. But he was damn persistent, and he eventually nailed me down because he knew how much I love Marvel.
Yeah.
And that's how he hooked me. He got me with that IP-based game, and I absolutely loved it. I owned it within a week of playing it. I've played it countless amounts of times since. I can't stop mentioning it.
Yeah.
I've just, about a week or so ago, got the Harry Potter version, the reskin.
Yeah, okay.
So I've got Death Eaters Rising out. Yeah, full nerd! I'm going to argue that. My son loves Harry Potter, so that's the reason for purchasing that
Fine, you have a child. It's the only reason a 30-plus-year-old man's shown anything Harry Potter related. Just saying.
You role play, mate. Don't let's not even go there.
I make up my own nonsense. I don't follow.
Now.
We might just start having a bit of a fist fight in here. But no,
let's not.
Let's not.
Not in this small conservatory place.
No. He'll obliterate me.
It's true.
AWF.
Or I'll just moonsault on you again. Just wind you completely.
Now that's another episode. Don't...
Yeah, well, I did say to Anthony before we started, we must stay on track and not start talking about wrestling.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm not going to lie down when he can moonsault me again.
That's definitely another one right there.
So Harry Potter, anyway.
Yeah, Harry Potter. Anyway, yeah, where was I? Oh yeah. So I got into that, and after I played that, I was hooked. The new style of board game, it just really got me. It was, cooperative board game as well. So I'd never played anything like that.
I love me a bit of co-op.
It's my favourite type of game right now, to be completely honest with you. I'd say a good half of my collection has got to be co-op based games. But yeah, at that point, I started going out and I was like, my God, there's Marvel everything, So I got into the Marvel deck building game, Legendary, which is actually my favourite game of all time. Currently, changes all the time, but it's pretty much
That's
always
not
up
Marvel Champions?
No, that's actually the newer version.
That's the new, right, okay.
Legendary is still running. It's a different company that makes it. Champions is more of a deck construction game.
Oh, right,
very similar concept.
Right.
But yeah, it's that's a really good game as well. But for me, I still prefer Legendary. However, like I said, my friend Ian, he prefers Champions.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's kind of worked out all right because I now have every expansion for Legendary. He's now getting every expansion.
I was going to say there's an expansion for that for coming out soon, isn't there?
So between us, we've got...
mine's better than yours.
It's like, mine is a much bigger collection.
Yeah, it allows you to enjoy both without...
See, I would have thought differently.
crossover.
Listening to your podcast, I would have thought Ian would have the bigger collection.
Ian has a bigger collection of board games overall, but
I
argue this because he has been into board games a lot longer than me.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
I am very, very rapidly catching up.
Okay.
And he hates it. Because we'll find a game that we really like, and 10 minutes later, I was like, oh, by the way, I've just bought it. I'm not giving him a chance to go, to go and buy it. There have been a couple of occasions where we've ended up with the same game twice, which is why we're trying to sort of, well, what's the point? We both own it, we both go to the same clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I've not found myself wanting to own anything that I know someone else I have. Sorry, not wanting to own something that I know someone else I know already owns, because it seems pointless to have the duplication. I'd rather buy something unique, and then we can play their copy of that. We can play my copy of this. Because I'm only going to probably likely play with the same people each time anyway. So there's no point in me buying the same thing as Anthony, same thing as buying what you already own, because I can play your version, and then I can spend my money on whatever else. And when that's partly where the community comes in as well.
Yeah, without a doubt. That is exactly where the community comes in. It's where my club actually started, how I actually wanted it to be taken. Because, as you said at the start, modern board games are actually quite pricey. Especially if you get the big box stuff. And that's a bit off-putting to someone. Whereas if you can go somewhere, like the comic shop, for example, and, me and Ian will rock up with 100+ games every Wednesday. It's like, well,
so why do we need to? If you guys are going to bring it in,
don't go and buy it unless you really, really want to. But come down, try it. Yeah. If you like it and you want to buy it, cool. Go and spend your money.
Buy it from the comic shop.
Buy it from the comic shop. You're here. Go and order it at the till. It's great.
Yeah, man. They've got an ever growing stock of stuff. I was in there again earlier. Even more D&D stuff. I was so happy. I didn't have my card with me though, so I couldn't buy.
And they're going to get the Western Legends expansion. Then I'll be there.
Oh, I don't know. Ask them.
Should ask them, really, shouldn't I? Yeah.
They need to restock the one you bought. Western Legends is such a good game, guys. If you're not given that,
I was going to say I was actually eyeing up Western Legends, and it did disappear from the shop, and I now know where.
Yep.
So
there you go. Well, again, I wouldn't have known
it to Anthony in about 4 seconds, I think.
I wouldn't have known about that game if I hadn't listened to your podcast. So this is the whole point of, like you said, the community finding out new things, trying them out. Because I am not a Western person at all. Nothing. If you guys like it, that's your thing. But I was going into Western Legends. I was going to hate it. I wasn't going to give it a chance. But they gave me the opportunity to play it, and I friggin' loved it. And I just loved the mechanics to it with the poker cards and everything. And I was just like, you know what? I'm friggin' hooked. It's like Wayne was telling me, you can rub the bank. I can what? I was like, oh, you can steal cow. I can what? It's
kind of the one appealing things with role play as well. It's like you can do so many things that you can't legally do in real life.
Yeah.
Like, if I want to kill someone brutally and maim them and cut their head off and carry it around as a trophy, I'm damn well going to do it.
I'm going to do it because I can't do it in reality.
I mean, you could, but I don't know how far you
might get into a lot of trouble for that.
The dark side of Jason is revealed.
Yeah.
I was the
Says
one that
me,
always
who
did.
owns an axe?
This is true.
But yeah, no, that's your story with Western Legend is exactly how I went into Thanos Rising. I went into that game wanting to hate it and just tear everyone apart and go, "Oh, you sad bastards playing this crap."
Yeah.
It's a weird perception thing to overcome, isn't it? The general populace, because I don't go in. I kind of went in with no expectations when Wayne first set up. I think it was Nemesis, might have been, or possibly Rising Sun, both epic in comparison to anything I'd ever played. Rising Sun is a political war game of sorts.
Okay.
It'll take me a while to explain it, so I won't
No,
try.
I've never heard of it. So
I won't
I was
even-
like, is that Rising? I've never heard of it.
You've seen the size of the box for Nemesis.
Yeah, okay.
It's 2 of those.
So Gloomhaven.
It's huge. It is a really interesting game. Nothing like anything we've played, I think, together.
Have you done an episode on it on your?
Yet to do an episode on Rising Sun. We are due to play tomorrow, so episode.
So look out for
will
it,
be
guys.
coming shortly.
Yeah, look out for it.
Yeah, there's a good degree of politicizing before you get to the war stage. A bit of area control, a bit of troop management, but it's not like a war game as such.
Have you played it, Jason?
I haven't. Again, it's another one that's eluding me. I saw it when it first came out, and it looked amazing. It's another one of those that's just got phenomenal artwork
It's
on
a
it. To be
gorgeous
honest,
piece of design.
Really?
Yeah, from the board all the way through to the pieces and even the box art.
Yeah, even the box art. Just to see that sitting on a shelf, it catches your eye.
Well, that's one of the things. I'm constantly looking at these modern board games as pieces of art, and I kind of want to impress that upon as many people as I can. Which I was saying, the perception thing, I was largely unaware of what modern board gaming was. I suppose computer gaming is the thing that most people of early 20s do these days more readily. I suppose that's where the money is and where the marketing is. But I'd be very interested to see the public perception of modern board gaming expand to actually understand. As with so many of my hobbies, people have almost an archaic view of, oh, you watch wrestling, fat men in tights. Like, no, I watch top level athletes doing things that you can't even imagine doing.
Amen to that.
But because people have a set view, board games equals Monopoly.
Yeah.
No, board games equals Batman Arkham Horror, or a whole bunch
To
of
be
other
fair,
things.
Immersing yourself in all these worlds.
Yeah,
that no one's really aware of.
It's definitely that. It's the perceptions, isn't it? Like it's even the same with computer gamers. It's not so prevalent now, but there was a point where if you played computer games, you were a nerd.
Yeah.
You sat at home, you never left.
Yep.
You were a hermit. You were crouched over a computer, looking like some kind of troll.
Stop describing my childhood.
And mine. How dare
And yet, it's kind of the same as when we were kids. Like if you watched like Pokemon, for example, when you were kids, you were a nerd.
Yeah.
You got bog watched.
No one
for
wanted
that.
to know you at all.
You know what I mean?
Well,
And then
Jason,
Pokemon Go comes out, and then every sod's playing it.
Yeah,
It's cool all of a sudden.
It's cool all of a sudden,
When's Power Rangers' turn?
Do you know what? I was literally talking about box art you were talking about. I recently played the Power Rangers. I think you mentioned it in yours or one of Simon's.
Heroes of the Grid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently played that with a friend of mine, Stuart, who has got me into it. And some of the box art for that is just
It's
phenomenal.
phenomenal, isn't it? Yeah, because
it's based on the comic book, I believe.
It's based on the comic book, and they actually got in the same artists that did the comic artwork, and they got them in to specially make some of the artwork for some of the cards as well.
Yeah,
And
that is
it
really.
is so
Have you played
good.
it, Simon?
No.
You was a Power Ranger geek back in the day, so you should play it.
I've still got all the first gen toys up in the loft.
Yes.
Hopefully they've avoided the rain damage, but
Fingers crossed.
yeah, man. I'm
Definitely need
lifelong
to
Power
get
Ranger
you-
fan. I don't care.
So he gets you into Nemesis, and you get him into Power Rangers,
Without a
please.
doubt. Yeah, definitely. I am aching to play that game again. I mean, the problem I find with that is there are a lot of people that just don't like Power Rangers, but it was well publicised last year that the game mechanics of that game are so good. Even if you don't like Power Rangers, you need to play this game.
Yeah.
So it's almost the opposite of where you were going to Thanos because of the IP. You think people might be put off because it's Power Rangers, regardless of the quality of the gamesmanship.
Exactly. I mean, I loved Power Rangers when I was growing up, but unlike yourself, I literally only liked the first 3 seasons of Power Rangers.
Yeah.
I have hated everything since.
I don't think I even really had a concept of it being a series as such. I just watched it because it was on until...
But I'm surprised it still goes today as well.
Yeah.
They have managed
crazy.
to keep...
I mean, one of the things...
dozens of iterations of it.
I desperately want to go over to the Power Morphicon in the States.
No way. Is there actually such a thing? I never knew that.
Yeah,
Undoubtedly,
there's loads of them.
Only if you go in your Red Ranger suit.
I was going to say, we're cosplaying as a
That
Red Ranger.
Red Ranger suit was burnt.
That's another episode.
Deep on the depths of the internet, ladies and gentlemen, if you can find it.
It's there somewhere.
Jason in a red Power Rangers morphing suit.
So yeah, go on. Power Rangers you talk about.
But yeah, that, again, really good game. Absolutely love that game. That was actually my very first game I ever backed on Kickstarter, which has become an addiction for me.
The expansions.
I remember you saying before,
the expansions for that are phenomenal as well.
Yes.
Some of the stuff, just the Megazord alone, he gets his own box and everything.
Yeah, and then they released the Cyclopsis.
No way, have they done that now
as well? And it's actually slightly bigger.
Wow.
Than the Megazord. I haven't got around to painting that yet, but the model is absolutely stunning. Everyone is crying out for a Dragon Zord.
Yes, because he is the best.
Yeah,
Come on, Dragon Zord all the way. Yeah. Green Ranger all the way.
Exactly. And the last round of Kickstarters they did was delivered about a month or so ago to me. They actually released the Tommy Oliver pack, which had all of his different incantations. I actually had the Green and White Ranger from the initial Kickstarter, so I've now got 2 versions of the Green and White Ranger that are playable. The first expansion they did came with the alternate universe where Tommy Oliver never, turned back to being good, so he just became more and more powerful, and then ended up killing Lord Zed and
Rita, didn't he?
And just became this monster in himself.
Lord Drakov or
Lord
something?
Lord Draken.
Draken, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever got that far.
No, mate, that was a comic.
When we was playing it around Stuart's, every time we deployed a putty, we would just go...
I'm not going to lie, I was the one sitting there with the music on my phone, because I always play as the Green Ranger, every time, because his special ability is that he actually gets bonuses if he's off fighting on his own. Very thematic. So every time it was my turn to instigate a fight, it was like, okay, go Green Ranger, playing on the phone while I do what I need to do.
When you get Dragon Zord, doesn't his damage spread out as well?
It does, yeah. He is such a dirty character.
Simon, please get on it. Jason, sort it out.
Yeah. As long as we get to spend the whole time going,
I want you to meet Summer!
Just so much exposition of what you're doing.
Yeah, you have to move your arms when you take your move, yeah?
We need to go do the thing and do the thing because of the thing and the thing. And now I'm going to say what move I'm doing. How's it doing?
All while flailing your arms around.
It's it. Good old Power Rangers.
For that.
Oh, we have to flail our arms around because our mouth doesn't move on the helmet.
On the helmet
we didn't think about that in the design, did they?
So yeah.
So that's Power Rangers. Absolutely love that game. And I'd completely forgotten where I was going after that.
We kind of went a bit too far there on that one, didn't we?
Yeah.
Deep dive is inevitable.
When we get together and chat, it's always going to happen, isn't it?
This is it.
I suppose, Anne, we should hear some of your history, right?
Yeah. So
it was news to me, to be honest, that you even played board games. Right. And I was really shocked to get the message that you thought, oh wow, he doesn't only play board games, he's got some pretty in-depth games there.
Yeah, know? So it's pretty much the same as yours though, Jason, because I used to do... So my cousin got me into D&D at a very, very young age and absolutely loved it. And when I tried to explain it to my parents to get me a copy of D&D, I ended up with a copy of HeroQuest instead.
Oh, okay.
Which was D&D for a 9-year-old, pretty much. So
broadsword.
Bars, you're a broadsword.
It's kind of a bit more regimented, formalised version, isn't it? From what I understand.
But still, for a game that was 9+, it was still quite tough to, for a 9-year-old to take in and do it.
It was really difficult. It was a very, very difficult game. I mean, it even stands up to games today, to be completely honest. Although it's a standard, Monopoly-sized board, it still has game mechanics that stand up today. It really is a great game.
Yeah.
It's really stood the test of time, and the artwork on that, it was
and the cardboard furniture. You had the cardboard box, briefcase, bookcases and stuff. Can't beat them. So I went from that and really enjoyed the hell out of it, and obviously went to the space version of Hero Quest, which was Space Crusade, and then, like Simon mentioned, was Key to the Kingdom after that, and it kind of just went downhill from there. Really, I'd grown up, like you went to college and stuff. Pretty much board games were the only thing that would come out at Christmas time, because that was when you was with your family. Like, if you played it any other time, your family like, board games? That's stupid. Why would you want to play that? Yeah. Why are you playing board games for, you
Suddenly
weirdo?
Becomes cool amongst the family at Christmas.
Exactly.
It's weird, isn't it? I don't understand why that has such a niche targeted thing in so many people's minds.
Yeah. Even now, it's still the case. And it confuses me. It's like, why do you want to have fun only once a year?
Yeah. Like people go crazy for pancakes. Like,
my question to you is, we all seem to have had a gap where we stopped playing games for a bit. Do you think that's because of the limitations to what we had then? Like, we only had our Monopolies, our Cluedos and whatnot. We still had D&D, obviously, because it still goes today, whatnot. But I can't think of a game like games we play now that were around then.
I'm trying to think back to when I was kind of teenage, and
that's what I'm saying.
I suppose you'd flick through the Argos catalogue was the classic thing again at Christmas and go, what do I want? And it kind of topped out at maybe 13, 14 in terms of its target.
Yeah, because I think the reason why solely I had stopped board gaming was video gaming. Yeah, because Mega Drive had come out, PlayStation had come out.
It's when the console wars really took off, wasn't it? And it suddenly became really uncool.
Yeah,
to do anything other than sit in your bedroom playing a console.
That's right. Like you said earlier on, it's like you were just in there playing that instead of playing board games. Then obviously,
focus is definitely taken by the computer games.
Yeah,
100% on that.
So
I'm slightly disappointed I missed out on the initial computer game chat that we had last week, but I'm sure we'll pull up another episode.
Come back for an episode. I mean, more than welcome to.
There was not a single mention of the Commodore Amiga in there.
I did mention the Commodore. I said I started off with the Commodore.
You had but not the Amiga.
Ah, right. No, because actually, going back to that episode, I actually mucked up because my cousin who got me into D&D had Amiga, had a Spectrum and whatnot, and then got into the NES after that and whatnot. So that's where I kind of mucked up and should have mentioned then. But yeah,
I will be honest. Listening to the podcast, it made me want to go up in the loft because I know I've got a Commodore 64 up there somewhere.
Yes,
so
the old tape cassette.
I need to go up there and dig it out.
Yes.
I've got my boxy grey PlayStation.
Yeah, you do, because I remember we'd gone up to your loft and that's where we found the Power Rangers.
Yeah, man.
And I wanted to buy them off you and you wouldn't do it.
Hell no, man. No chance of selling them.
Do you reckon they are still up there?
They definitely are, yeah.
Yeah, don't think your mum sold them off or anything?
Well, no, because when I was up there a month ago...
All right, fair enough. Oh, that's fair enough. I didn't know you went up there a month ago. So I reckon that's why I probably stopped board gaming then. Yeah. And then till a couple of years ago, I met a group of guys who I work with, and they're into their video games and stuff. So I went over to their house, started doing video game days with them and whatnot. And I believe, do you know what Mondo is? The company that does film posters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Mondo released a board game called Infection Outpost 31, which is obviously a game based on one of my favourite movies, The Thing. And quite a high-priced game, whatnot, but I thought such a massive fan. And it's a board game. I'm quite intrigued to give this a go, see how it comes out. So I brought it around to them one day, and turned out they weren't as big fans as I was of the movie, but just enjoyed the hell of it. We spent a whole day trying to learn the rules and stuff, because it is a very in-depth game, and, there's occasional rule you kind of leave out, and, oh shit, we should have gone back and done that, but we all just loved it. And then it kind of went on from there, and then other people started buying other board games. We played Die Hard, the board game. We played Jaws, the board game. And
Jaws, the board
game. It's a co-op game. It's a great co-op game.
Ravensburger.
Yeah. Okay. There was a Jurassic Park by Ravensburger as well.
So Jurassic Park I can see working. I can't quite work out how...
In all fairness, I didn't like it very much, that one. The Ravensburger one.
I do own that game. I actually talked about it.
You did
on our last podcast, because it's. Have you ever played Dynogenics or Dinosaur Island?
No, Dinosaur Island is on the list again.
Okay.
It's one.
So I mean, roughly what it's about. Building your own park. So basically, it's the same sort of premise, but it's a co-op game, and you're basically working to stop the dinosaurs from escaping. And I bought it not long after it came out, and it was about 50 quid. And literally, it's a small board, as in smaller than a Monopoly board, two wooden, really lightweight wooden dice that don't roll properly, and that's
bad dice is upsetting.
Some cards. It was really, really crap, to be completely honest, and I was so pissed off.
Was you looking forward to it then?
Because I was really, I'd played Dynagenics, I'd played Dinosaur Island. I was like, oh, there's an actual, there's an IP based one, and I was on some kind of IP binge at the time where I was buying everything that had an IP, and it's to this day my biggest regret.
Really,
hands down, my biggest regret for purchasing the game.
Really. So do you still own it, or have you burnt it?
I've still got it, and it is right at the bottom of the pile of shame. It's been played
taking all the weight above the other board games.
Yeah, exactly.
Donate it to the shop if it's taking up space.
To be honest, it's very tempting, but I'm also like, I don't really want to.
Should have gone.
You don't want someone else to suffer the same fate as you did.
Should have gone with the shark and stuck with Jaws then, apparently.
Well, that one actually came out quite a few years later, unfortunately.
Oh, all right.
But they have. I am intrigued because they've just released a Back to the Future game as well.
Ravensburger, haven't they?
Ravensburger have, but
nice.
there is also another company that has as well. They released at the same time, which is funny because Dinosaur Island and Dynagenics released a month apart. So
it's crazy.
It's almost as if they're all working
a little bit
together.
Repeated history here.
Yeah.
But yes, it's.
So Jaws. And then I purchased USopoly released Stephen King's It as a board game, and it's actually a really, really good co-op game, really good. And if you can actually get the full 7 people to play it, which is the amount that the Losers Club is, it's actually quite a good game to play. I do have it. If you ever guys want to give it a go one time, I highly recommend it.
I'm always game for trying anything.
7 players, though.
That's it. And then we played, which I'm sure you two are fully aware of, the great game that's in my top 5, which is Pandemic.
Who doesn't know
Exactly.
Pandemic?
Well,
it's the worst game ever, isn't it?
But this is the thing. I never knew of Pandemic, and I think I can't remember how I did. I think it come up with like a Amazon recommendation or something.
Yeah.
And someone talked to me about it, and I managed to snag. I don't think you can get it now. You might be able to. The 10th anniversary edition of it, which is like a still first aid box version of it.
Oh, sweet!
It's really cool, and it's got the.
They like me a collector's edition.
The diseases are all like in like scientific cases and everything as well.
Nice.
It's very, very, very cool edition of it. So yeah, we just took from there, and we've gone on ever since. I've got stuff from like Western Legends. Buying expansions of Nemesis just to play them. I don't even own the game, but I just bought an expansion because I want to play it. But I play other games as well that my daughter would like. Like we played Sushi Roll. I don't know if you've ever heard of Sushi Roll.
Yeah.
Cute little dice game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of literally just learning numbers and whatnot. And during lockdown times, like, Daddy, I want to play Sushi Roll. Fine. Yeah. It's a game. You're learning. I'm happy to play it with you guys.
I've actually invested quite heavily into family based games, especially after last year we did the Horsham Gaming Festival.
That was a great event. I really enjoyed that.
It was fantastic. I mean, big shout out to the Horsham Gamers for putting that on.
Was that the one they do at the Leisure Centre?
It was.
They're at the Drill Hall.
The Drill Hall.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I remember a game festival there a couple of years ago. I don't know if that was there then.
There was like the trade expo thing at the
Is that what I'm thinking of? Right, okay.
Yeah. But no, this was more of they had a lineup of classic arcade cabinets and then lots of kind of joining stuff. So Jason was there with a bunch of his games that people could play, and there was some guy with an awesome. I've got a picture on here somewhere, like a Walking Dead scene.
Wicked!
Had intense character movement.
How cool is that?
So, like a wargaming type function. I think.
Yeah,
looks amazing.
I mean, that was another one that was huge when it first came out. Was the Walking Dead No Sanctuary game.
Yeah, there's been again.
That's the board game.
At least 2 different Walking Dead games, aren't there?
There's a few different variants of the Walking Dead games.
As I say, I'm an enthusiastic amateur, so my depth of knowledge is somewhat limited on these. But there's definitely one I've seen that looked fantastic. Well, definitely some.
I never knew there was one existed. That's why I bought Dead Cold of Winter. Because I thought that was the substitute for a Walking Dead game, and now you just told me there's a Walking. Damn it! I've just wasted 40 quid.
No, man, Dead of Winter is an awesome game.
It's a good game.
It's so replayable.
I will say right now, don't buy No Sanctuary.
Oh, really?
It's
is that going to go in with the Dino game?
The problem with No Sanctuary is it is actually a really good game, but the rulebook is... This one actually takes the award for shittest rulebook ever made.
No way.
And it killed the game. Completely killed the game. I mean, a good story of that is Ian...
So what was wrong with it? Just no effort into the manual, or...?
It's one of those things that it was a Kickstarter game.
Okay.
And Kickstarter games always have something wrong. They have to, I think that's
hence why they're Kickstarters.
That's why they're on Kickstarter. And this one was the rulebook.
Okay.
Ian actually backed it on Kickstarter. He spent a lot of money on it. I think we're talking about 150 quid he got his for. And it came out, it was delivered, we played it, it was all right. Once we'd figured out, basically on some of the cards it gives you symbols, whereas in the book it's words.
Yeah.
And there's no cross-reference.
That would definitely hamper the game. Yeah,
so what would have taken 5 minutes to quickly look into the rulebook took 20 to 30 minutes to try and figure out what the fuck was going on. And we got that, played it, and it was an all right game. And then eventually I found it in the works.
Wow, really?
Exactly. That's exactly the thing. And I got the game and the expansion for 20 quid. So that tells you how.
So how much would it? How much would that normally been?
About 120.
Wow.
The only thing I was missing was one expansion.
But didn't you say something about Star Wars? Like a Star Wars game was at the works, going quite cheap. You mentioned that in one of your episodes.
Star Wars Destiny actually was in TK Maxx.
Oh, that was it. TK
they
Maxx.
had the 2-player starter set, which was a really, really good game. Unfortunately, the game has now died a death. They don't support it anymore. But yeah, that game was still really popular at the time.
But it went really cheap at TK, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like 12 quid, I think, for the 2-player starter set, which was usually 30. So it's like, well, that's a third of the price. Thank you very much.
I love that.
I already had 2 copies of it, but it was like, well, fuck it. One more.
Resale.
Yeah.
It was great.
But yeah, a poorly written rule book is definitely something you want to avoid. So you can have the best game mechanic in the world, but unless that's clearly detailed, without being overly detailed, then you do sadly lose out. We played one game, a vampire something or other. I'd have to double check the name of it, but the game itself seemed really cool. It had lots of cool detail and design, but the rulings just weren't clear enough, and it really detracted from the gameplay. And I think potentially might happen more in Kickstarter, although I don't think being Kickstarter fundamentally means that there's going to be issues. It would just be a lack of experience in being familiar with the game you've designed enough to then write it down for other people to understand. It's a skill unto itself to be able to explain. I find the same in my martial arts. I know what my arms and my feet are doing, but if I try and break it down and explain it to someone, it's that much more tricky.
People take it in a different way, isn't it?
Yeah. So making sure that you've gone through and reiterated enough times that you can give it to absolutely anyone that might buy it and say, does this make sense? And have that be part of your process of creation before it gets to the point of sale. Obviously that didn't happen with this game, unfortunately.
No,
seemingly,
I said, it's a real shame because the game had so much promise, and at the time The Walking Dead was shit hot. It really was. It should have sold. It should have been one of the best. It was the biggest
property out there, wasn't it?
Exactly. At one point? But I mean, to give you a couple of ideas of other games that you could get, you've got Here's Negan from Mantic Games. That is a fantastic game.
That's another Walking Dead one, is it?
That's another Walking Dead one.
Is that a standalone? So that's not like
standalone.
It's not like a
complete standalone. Get the other one. Still well supported to this day as well. So yeah, that's probably one I would definitely suggest to look into. But yeah, there's a fair few out there. Walking Dead. I never knew. You'll find some.
So I knew of Dead of Winter because that's again another recommendation. You buy this, try this one out, sort of thing. So got that, but never knew about Walking Dead one. So, I mean, I'm not always about IP on games. This is what this week's episode for us was about. Was does IP actually hinder the gaming community? I don't think it does. Yeah.
If anything, I actually think it has a positive effect because it does bring in people that may not have otherwise played board games.
Yeah.
Like yourself, you were brought in because you'd seen an IP that you really liked.
Yeah, it was a big fan of.
I wouldn't mind trying that. And then you've tried a modern board game, at which point it's like, well, hang on a minute, there's this whole new world.
Exactly.
And I was the same.
A whole new...
No. Yeah,
sound effects there.
I should have done that. I should have cued that in somewhere, shouldn't I?
Yeah, the connection to licenses, I think you'll gain more than you lose generally.
Yeah. I mean, there are negatives. I'm not one for constant reskin after reskin, and the biggest one for me at the minute is Marvel just slapping their pictures over absolutely everything. With Thanos on every box art. I
fear WWE are kind of down that route as well. There are
definitely
endless different board games, card games, little spinny things.
Isn't there a WWE game coming out, card game or something?
There's a really fancy one you've linked to.
Yeah, you linked onto the Ant-Mania page, by the way, on Facebook. Give it a look.
I mean, to go back to Gale Force 9 earlier, they did a WWE board game a few years ago, and it was trash.
Wow, not so confident about the aliens one now.
You got 6 miniatures. I actually own this game, but you got 6 miniatures, and it was 6 of the biggest stars. Well, it wasn't. It was 5 of the biggest stars and Big E Langston.
Oh my god!
And it was proper Big E Langston. It wasn't even like New Day.
Was this Big E Langston when he made you count to 5, not 3?
Yeah, exactly.
Shots fired. Shots fired at Big E Langston.
Oh, hi, Big E.
Nothing wrong with Big E at all, but he just wasn't that sort of caliber, because you had the John Cena's in there, Randy Orton was in there. For some weird, obscure reason, the Big Show was in there, and then just Big E.
Maybe to balance the board against Big Show and Big E.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? So it was a bad game. It was a bad game.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad game, but it was just very boring. So
does Gale Force, what's it called, Gale Force?
Gale Force 9.
Do they have any good games?
They do.
Aliens and Screen, it's going to be so bad.
No, they do, but I wouldn't be able to name them off the top of my head because I don't actually own that many of them.
Right, so it's a rarity, but they do.
Yes, yeah. So it's definitely worth checking out, but a lot of research first. I'd wait for some proper reviews to come out first before chucking money.
We'll wait for that episode then, Simon.
Well, yeah, we'll see, huh? And if it doesn't go well,
do you review on your channel? Or are you going to? Because you mentioned you were going to do some changes on your last episode.
We haven't done as of yet. There are going to be some coming up. There's been a few comments and stuff about what people would like to hear, and we're always listening.
Yeah.
The main changes were in the first few episodes that we did. We had a few re-records that we did, and obviously the nature of the beast, if you're re-recording, the environment is never going to be the same, and therefore it's bloody hard to try and edit it in, especially when you're like me and don't have any editing experience whatsoever.
Sound production is a highly sought after skill.
It is indeed, and I have the utmost respect for anyone that's done it. I
all the time to do it, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Editing takes a shitload of time.
It does.
Yeah, I know that from countless Ant-Mania editorials.
Yes, I have so much respect for anyone that does that kind of stuff. I was in a band for...
Huh?
I love you, Wayne.
Big shout, Wayne.
I'm just a mouth that speaks for an hour, and then
Wayne does all the rest.
He makes me sound somewhat plausible.
Maybe I should get Ian to do the editing there.
Yeah, get him to do it. Sorry, Ian, if you're listening.
But big respect for anyone that does that. I can't even remember what I was talking about now. What was I talking about?
We were loosely talking about potential changes to the podcast and whether you'll be looking to do more in-depth reviews.
Yes. Yeah, we're definitely looking at doing some Wii plays. Very similar to what you guys do, I think. We're going to we do a topical discussion every week, and it's going to get to the point, I think, where we're going to find a game that we've really enjoyed, and that will be the topic of that week. So you'll get a little bit of a review in there. What's the quality like on those miniatures? If it's a miniatures-based game, what's the quality and the card stock like? One of the ones we desperately want to do is the new Digimon trading card game that's coming out.
That still goes?
It is still going, believe it or not. And they've literally just released a brand new TCG in Japan. It's not available here yet, and Ian has been sent over a full set of TCG stuff.
Nice.
And I saw it the other day, and my fucking God, the artwork on it is probably some of the best I've seen.
Better than Power Rangers?
Better than Power Rangers.
No, I don't believe you. I don't believe you, because that is some damn good art on that Power Rangers.
It is. But yeah, really stunning artwork, and so that's definitely going to be one that we're going to do, because we're right on the brink of breaking all the news on that, because we've got people that we know that are actually living in Japan and actually are there for when they're releasing stuff over there. They're feeding the information back to us. We're sort of then going, oh well, this is happening in Japan.
So
but
you're
there's
kind
still
of
nothing coming.
So
to
do you
the
kind
UK.
of play test it then, and then get back to them?
No, it's because it's officially out over there.
Oh right, okay.
So anything that's getting announced over there, like new cards and stuff, they're feeding that news back to us. We have played a few games on Tabletop Simulator, where people have, spent the time to change it into English for us.
Yeah.
And the gameplay works really well. I came out of the TCG scene years ago because I'm not made of gold.
Yeah.
The card game thing never beyond Top Trumps, which again I always get derogatory looks.
Top Trumps is legendary.
And again, I think the appeal for a lot of that for me was the artwork. Just looking at it from the simple little images, 2-inch square on the card. Just going,
I admire people's
adventure
passion
in
for
my
stuff
head.
like Magic and Gathering and whatnot, but it's not my bag really.
Never
To be
grabbed
honest,
me.
I never really.
They're always playing it in the shop, and they've got endless amounts of stuff. And
Yeah,
again,
because I was watching them.
I
And
look at the artwork and go, that looks cool. That's
Yeah.
triggering my imagination. I now want to go off and write a story and
Absolutely.
play D&D. I don't want to sit there and go, oh, that's +1 and a tap. It just
nothing
doesn't-
against card games. I think just
No,
that
not
sort of
at all.
particular card
It
game
just-
is not.
Yeah, it just doesn't
I
grab
think
me.
that's definitely one of the reasons that me and Ian gel so well, because I'm very into the war game side of it. He's not really into that, whereas he's heavily into the card game scene, whereas I'm not so much. I have played.
But that's good though, because you've got
Pokemon
different
TCG,
sides of your
exactly.
gaming wise
so
on your
between
channel.
us, we cover the entire tabletop hobby.
Yeah.
Which is great, and it works fantastic.
Apart from Dungeons and Dragons.
No, Ian is actually
Does he play?
he is a player. I actually watched them play, do a role play online last night. Actually,
Okay.
I was building some war game scenery, and they were doing their campaign, and I was sort of
Yeah.
watching it. But they were having so much fun, and I have so much respect for people that were having fun. But to me, it was just sort of like,
You do that though. You play it online recently, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm recently falling out of love with the online play as much as
Really?
I've loved that it's facilitated the ongoing, to be able to play over these
kept
last
you
4
going.
months. There's certain aspects of it that I'm really starting to miss being face to face around an actual table with pencil and paper.
Yeah.
My mindset has changed slightly at the moment. It's not to say I won't keep playing online because it's the only choice I've got really at the moment. But
And is that the same with you, Jason, with the tabletop thing? Is that just sort of
without a doubt, like, it's great that we've got these ways of playing online, but there's something magical about feeling a load of dice in your hand and rolling dice across the table and hearing it clatter across the table, and then seeing a 1 and going, "Oh, for fuck's sake!"
Yeah.
Whereas doing it on a keyboard, just pressing R to roll. It's,
Oh, did I get that? Oh.
yeah, even with the virtual
It's very
dice that you can see
anticlimactic.
scattering across like a 3D dice on your desktop screen. It's like, well, that's kind of cool, but I'm still spending another.
Still not the real deal, is
It's
it?
still another 3 hours in front of a computer screen that
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
otherwise not. And that was one of the great things for me about board gaming and D&D combined as a new hobby or more of a focused hobby. Is that it was something that wasn't screen based. I spend 8
It's
hours.
actually getting a chance to meet people.
8 hours a
and
day, 40 hours a week
hang
in
out with
front
your
of a
mates.
monitor screen for work. I then watch lots of YouTube because there's some amazing content
you got a
on
life.
YouTube. But then this was, 4 to 6 hours a week that were no screen at all.
Yeah.
No phone. Phone was off. Well, not off because it's never off, but it's in my pocket. It's on silent.
It's out of the way.
I've just got my little mini model because I like having minis. I bought some more last week. I've got my dice.
Your new glow-in-the-dark dice.
Oh, glow in the dark dice. They are beautiful, guys. $4.99 comic shop.
Nice little plug there. I like it.
I'd looked at them for about 4 weeks going, I like those dice. I can't quite work out why. And then I bought them. And as I paid for them, went, they remind me of the colorization of one of the characters from Critical Role. They look like Ford.
Yeah.
They fade from green, a dark green to a lime green. And then I found out they glow in the dark. So I was
Bonus.
super happy with that purchase. But yeah, as I say, it's 4 to 6 hours a week. Being able to sit with people, actually meet people in the flesh. Particularly at the moment, it's kind of a weird balance, I'll admit. But even pre-lockdown, could potentially spend a lot of time just sat at home. I'd go to work, I'd come home, and I'd sit and I'd watch TV.
Yeah.
Give me some compulsion to go out and actually physically see people,
absolutely.
or have them come to me, and you get that contact, and then you get to see their faces, and you have that actual social interaction.
And both of you guys give that opportunity to people with your communities and stuff.
Yep.
Your Dungeons and Dragons nights at Comic Shop and your Pound Hill nights at Pound Hill?
We've got I do three different gaming nights a week. You've got my Monday nights with the Crawley Gaming Club. You've got the Friday nights with Pound Hill Board Gamers, and then sort of the overall umbrella is the Crawley Gaming Community, which is the one that sort of runs an event in the comic shop. But yeah, I mean, to sort of expand on what Si was saying, the main thing I find with board games, and I think the whole lockdown thing is really going to highlight this to people, or has already highlighted this to people, and that is we are incredibly sociable creatures, and we have lost that over the past sort of 10 to 20 years, and people have realised that by being forced to stay away from everyone and have no contact other than electronic contact, and there's just something different about being in someone's presence and talking to them. When I do an event, I don't touch my phone. I don't want to be anywhere near my phone. I have it there for emergencies, obviously, but when I'm playing a game, that's it. I'm connected with the people I'm playing a game with. I'm talking. I'm having a laugh. I'm seeing.
No need to go for that phone at all.
Yeah. It's like we were saying the other day when we go to the cinema that we're also massively missing.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm watching a movie on Netflix or something at home now, I can't help but fiddle with my phone. I'm not doing anything useful with it.
I think it's a boredom factor as well. That just kind of like I'm kind of bored of watching it. Quick check.
It's not even. I can still be really enjoying the movie, but
it just doesn't.
It's a preventative barrier from investing in it. If I go to the cinema, I will not look at my phone.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So it means I get so much more invested. So I could watch the same film at home or in the cinema. I'd pay twice as much attention, if not more.
Yeah.
And therefore enjoy it more because I'm paying full attention to it. Same when I'm sitting around a table. I look to my phone for notes on here while I'm talking, but I'm looking at you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we're
Put
having
your phone away.
we're having a solid conversation.
That's it.
There's no breaks. There's no umming and ahhing. There's no, what were you saying?
You can even see the enjoyment. When you're playing a game, you can see the enjoyment on someone else's face.
And people's reactions as well to like if they roll that dice and they don't get what they want.
Yeah.
It's a buzz.
Yeah.
For me, it is anyway.
One of my favourite types of games is social deduction games. You can't do that on a computer.
This is it.
I need to be able to see someone's face to know when they're bluffing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of my favourites is another Marvel-based game, annoyingly, which is Hail Hydra, and there's going to be 2 Hydra spies. So, well, how the fuck am I supposed to know who they are if I can't see the damn people?
Exactly.
It's me.
Granted, I'm nearly always...
I do love a bluffing game, though, I have to admit. I do love a bluffing game.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was actually going to be my next question to you guys, is that do you guys... Are you into all types of games, or are you strict on like, no, I won't play that type of game? Apart from Monopoly.
Loves it.
But if I popped out a card game, for example, I don't know, like something like Avalon. I don't know if you know what Avalon is, but would you give that a go? Would you be like, do you know what, I'm not really interested in that sort of stuff?
If I've not played it before, unless I know I don't like it, I will always give something a go.
Yeah, that's fair.
Preferably with someone who can explain it to me to the point where I'll be able to
actually
readily enjoy it.
Not Walking Dead instructions.
Yeah, if someone else is trying to introduce me to a game and they equally are unfamiliar with it, unless the point is that it's a learning experience for both of us to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you said I've got this game, we've recently played for the first time Hanabi. Do you know Hanabi? It's again a cooperative game. Essentially, you have to stack coloured cards. You've got, I think, red, yellow, green, and blue from number 1 to 5. They're representing a fireworks display. You have, I think it's a hand of 5, but they're facing out.
Okay.
So you don't know what you're holding, and the whole idea is that the person next to you tells you one thing about some of the cards you're holding. So they might say, these 2 are green, or this is a number 1.
Okay. So that's quite an interesting concept,
yeah,
really.
So it's the most cooperative game I'm aware of. Very, very simple.
And what's it called again?
Hanabi.
Hanabi, okay.
It's great. It's incredibly simple. And you just go, okay, well, he said last time that those 2 were red, and then She said that one was also a number 1, so I'm pretty sure that's a red 1. So I'll put the red 1 down. And then the idea is that you only put on top of the red 1 the red 2, or the red,
Okay.
So if someone had misunderstood their instruction, they might put down a green 4 on top of that red 1.
Right, okay.
That kind of busts that pile, and you then lose a life. You get a very limited number of lives before the game's over.
Is it quite an old game, or because I've not heard this at all? Or new games?
It's a few years old. I don't know exactly when it came out, but yeah, it's incredibly simple. And I mean, the box is barely bigger than a
pocket
pack of
size.
Bigger than a pack of playing cards.
See, that's what I love about them. Just portable, bring them anywhere. You know.
Well, that's the thing. I always took my top trumps on camp when I went camping with scouts. Because
have you played Cockroach Poker, or do you know of it?
No.
Have you, Jace? Do you know about it? So Cockroach Breaker is pretty much just you have a deck of cards of all different animals on it, and it's literally just a bluffing game. Like, I give you a card and I say, "That's a cockroach, Simon." So you can choose to believe, not believe me, or pass it. And it's a case of whoever gets the 4 of so many animals wins.
Okay.
But it's so addictive. It sounds stupid the way I'm just
I think I've seen that. I wasn't sure of the name, but I've
I think it's actually a German game, and it goes on. The translation is Cockroach Poker, so it might actually be called something else. But short, simple. My daughter loves it as well. We were playing that over lockdown, whatnot. It sounds very similar to that. Well,
similar kind of mechanic in a way. I love that kind of game. There's another one we played, Star Realms, I think it's called. Again,
I've heard of it, but not played it.
Again, very short, simple game as opposed to the epics of Nemesis and Dungeons and Dragons that go on for hours. This can be done in 10 minutes.
Oh, really?
Again, it's a card drawing game. You have a hand of 5, I think. You play them all every round. You slowly build up a deck that's stronger and stronger. It's basically just attacking each other with spaceships.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's incredibly straightforward, but once in a while you get this. There's like an open board of 5 cards that can be purchased.
Right.
But you'd only ever have as much to purchase as what's in your
And this
hand.
is just a card game?
Yeah, basic card game. So you might pick up 2 scout ships that can do 1 damage each. You might have a space station that has a shield of 5, and then 2 other ships that have got a total trading value of 4. So from that open deck in the middle, you can buy anything that's worth up to 4. You get rid of those cards that you're spending, and then pick up that thing that now becomes part of your deck. So next time round, you might pick up that thing you just bought. So you're constantly trying to build up this deck of powerful things. And I think there's 3 different factions. And if you've got multiple cards of the same faction, then you get bonuses. So if you play 3 green cards, then you'll get 2 extra damage and 1 extra trade value or something.
Okay.
You've got this cool little mechanic of building things into how you play.
Seems pretty cool for a card game, to be honest. Basic card game.
It's massively addictive as well. A bit like the thing you were just saying. It's simple. It's very straightforward to pick up. I've got these things in my hand. They do this.
Dead.
It's either a damage. The main choice is who you're attacking if you're playing with more than one person.
Yeah. Chase?
Yeah, that's cool. To be honest, no, there isn't any type of game that I will refuse to play. I'm willing to give anything a go once. There are obviously certain things that I prefer, but like I said, I like to think that I'm very open about playing any game. And like I said, you never know what you're going to like until you've tried, and until you've tried it, and you won't know you dislike anything until you've tried it. If you dislike it, don't play it again. It's pretty simple. And I've always, since I started with the board games, I realised my mistake.
Yeah.
And that was my mistake. So since then, I've just lived by the motto of I will try anything once. If I'm unsure, I'll try it again, and I'll keep trying it until I can say yay or nay.
Yeah.
I don't like anything being left in that middle ground. I can't really say that there has been a game that I've really disliked.
Well, you've mentioned 2 already.
Other than those 2.
But you were honest about it. But 2 out of hundreds is not bad going, to be honest.
Exactly.
And that's as much disappointment versus expectation as it was the game itself, I'd imagine. I don't think there's any reason to not.
But I'm not just talking about like simple like games you play now, but I'm talking about like party games, card games, flex dexterity games, sort of thing. You'd all be happy with that?
I would definitely play them. I actually own quite a few party style games. Like one of the ones that I don't own that's huge is obviously Cards Against Humanity, and
I still haven't played that either.
Hand on heart, I've never played it.
Yeah,
Wow, I think that's quite a unique table then.
No, never played it.
I have played it. I don't own it, but I do have quite a few games that are very similar.
Okay.
My main issue really with that game is it's kind of your answers are predetermined by the cards you have.
Okay.
Whereas like a game I have that's very similar concept is Joking Hazard, which is actually made by the same people that make the Cyanide and Happiness comics.
Oh yeah.
And the premise of it is one of the players puts down a card from the deck. They then play a card from their hand, and then everyone else has to try and win the round by playing the end of a comic strip.
Okay.
So you're creating a comic strip, and you can do it from whatever you've got in your hand, and you can go for something that's funny, you can go for something that's vulgar, you know.
But I can see what you mean by you're limited to what you've got to.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, same principle. There's still some limitations to it because you're still limited to what you've got in your hand, but at the same time, there's so many different ways that comic strip could be taken.
Yeah, more variables because there's more steps.
A lot more variables.
There is another version similar to Cards Against Humanity. My friend Ash mentioned to me, I can't remember the name unfortunately, where it was essentially open-ended. So instead of a predetermined set of cards to choose from, you had a whiteboard. Yeah. So you choose your own, what's the worst thing I can come up with?
If you really wanted to go down that route, again, it's another Marvel IP based one. It's called Deadpool versus the World. It is basically a mix mash of Cards Against Humanity and Joking Hazard, and there's a load of cards in there, and the card designs are sort of pre-laminated, if you like, and they give you dry white markers, so you can write your own cards, write your own answers.
It's fun, man.
That sounds more fun, to be honest.
Yeah. It reveals the psychopathy in people and what they'll come up with.
Sick bastard.
There's again, I've forgotten the name of it because I'm dumb, but there's a drawing game, a bit like Pictionary, where but with Chinese whispers. So essentially, I
can't think of the name.
I would pull a card and it would say draw, I don't know, a tree in front of a house. So I would draw my best version of it. I'd then pass my drawing to you. You'd have to draw your version of my drawing.
Okay.
You'd then pass on your drawing of that drawing.
And you see at the end.
No, it wasn't quite that. The next person in the loop would write down what they thought your drawing was.
Mm.
They would then get the next person to draw what they'd written, and so on. So it would switch between a written description and a drawing. So the person would have to interpret a drawing, write down what they thought that was, and then the next person would draw what they thought the interpretation was.
Okay.
So you start out by drawing a tree in front of a house. By the time it gets round the table, to me, I think it's a Maserati car.
Yeah, exactly that. It's how far broken or how accurate can you get?
Which is the car crashed into the tree.
Yeah, maybe.
It was close. Yeah.
So it's that kind of mixture of not quite improv, but interpretation and combining with drawing skill or lack thereof. I'm not a great artist by any means. In fact, I'd say I'm not much more beyond a stick man. Well, I was going to say, yeah, but I always loved the idea of Pictionary. Never really had it as a kid. But just the idea of going, how...
But again, I think that was another game that came out at Christmas time, was Pictionary.
Seems to, that and Charades.
Charades, and
Trivial Pursuit.
Categories.
Categories,
You played Categories? My missus loves it, so I had to get in. I've got to play, baby. It's good to know that you guys still will be interested in anything.
I've found so many new things in the past 2 years that, the classic in our D&D group is the initial message that Wayne sent out to the slightly larger gaming group at the time, where he was running board games just at his house for a bunch of mates. He'd send the message out every Friday. And he said, I'm thinking about starting a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Would anyone be interested? And my response, having never played it before, was, is this something I'd be wanting to do? Or something along those lines.
Well,
of course now
I think the three of us are all guilty of thinking that when we got back into board games, or just in general, role-playing stuff. Because I definitely thought, is it worth it? It's a board game, for crying out loud.
Well, I had no idea. D&D particularly, there was, I knew almost nothing about it. I was vaguely aware of the old 80s connotation of nerds in the basement. Obviously, I loved the cartoon as a kid, which...
Yes.
That was a cartoon.
One of the best
things. It was essentially a separate thing to what Dungeons and Dragons was as a game.
But I did have a teacher that looked just like Dungeon Master. It used to freak me out.
No way. But now I'm dived in so deep into D&D, I can't see the surface. And that was a new thing. So yeah,
all you talk, every time I see it, it's all you talk about now. It's like, no, let's talk about movies, Simon. No, D&D. Clone the Dark Dice.
Yeah, I've watched about 3 movies in the last month, as opposed to playing D&D a bunch of times. I like to have something to be enthusiastic about.
That's it, exactly.
So I'm not going to limit myself by going, oh, yeah, I'm not sure about that. I might be slightly trepidatious going, oh, it's not. Luckily, I'm not very competitive, so I don't worry about playing a new game because I might lose. I don't care if I lose or not.
But you've got a genre of games that you're so into. But it's good that you're still willing to give the other. That's what I'm trying to get at with the question. That you're still willing to give card games, dexterity games, party games a go, and not just be like, no, you know what? I've got my D&D. I don't need the rest now.
Well, I think that's
what I was trying to get.
Yeah, I think it's allowed me to do a lot more anyway, because D&D, particularly for me, is as much as my brain is now farting. It's kind of sharpened my mental acuity for certain types of things, so quick thinking and adding on to ideas and that quick dexterity of thought.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm fairly physically dexterous anyway, so I've always enjoyed
those
kind of skill games. Even basic stuff like Jenga. It's seen as a basic time filler, but I really enjoy it.
Well, I've got a game that I've recently got into, which is a really good flick dexterity game, and it's actually from Canada, from the 1800s, so it's a very, very old game.
That's about as old as Canada gets.
Pretty much. And I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called Crokinole.
No.
So it's pretty much just a round board with a hole in the middle for your disc, whatnot. I said disc, by the way. And it literally is just trying to flick it in. But it's so friggin' addictive. But it's you can teach it in less than a minute. It's easy to set up, and you just play. And we even got tournaments in it. I am the current champion at the moment, by the way. I have a wrestling belt that is designed for a Crokinole champion. And I really think you should give it a go, because I think you'll love it.
Oh, yeah, man.
And the thing is, though, it's not exactly, going back to what Jason said, it's not a cheap game. Like, the board alone is £200 plus.
What?
Yeah. And I remember watching, so I was working at Christmas last year, and I watched a YouTube video that board game guys do. I don't know if you heard them, Shut Up and Sit Down.
I know, Shut Up and Sit Down.
Yeah, and they did a video on Crokinole. I was like, that just looks unbelievably great for just a game that flicks discs.
Yeah.
And I bought it, and I have not gone back since. Like, I introduced it to my guys, and I thought we were going to play it for 10 minutes of that, because that's around a bit, is 2, maybe 5 minutes of that. We played it for 4 hours. They were that hooked on it. And again, so it is flicking discs. So
some of the best games, though, and some of the most addictive games are so simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could have 4 lines of rules, and it could be the best game known to man.
Yep.
Again, another example of how how different a game can be, for example, as to what you think it would be, is I have a kids game, which is a kid in a shuffle. Mm-hmm. And basically, it's a massive board, and you've got to move echidnas around, taking bugs from your spawn point to your tree stumps that are dotted about the board. Really easy, really simple. Your movement is done by dice. Introduce that to a load of competitive adults, and it becomes the most competitive game you will ever play.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is a 30-minute game. I can play it with my son, and it's all good. It's all nice and easy. Introduces it to his gaming group and plays it for 4 hours.
There you go.
And it still didn't finish. Because it became, people are putting so much effort into it. Because you can move other people's
I do love a bit
of
being competitive for a bit. But yeah, I
see. You wouldn't like co-op based games then.
Well, no, I do. Don't get me wrong, I do like co-op based games, but when we went back to Nemesis, it's like, it gives you the choice to co-op or go against that. I kind of like aspect of it, but then going back to the card games, I was telling you about bluffing. I'm really into my bluffing games at the moment, like Masquerade and Avalon and Skulls.
Oh yes, Skulls.
I love Skulls.
No,
Skulls is really good.
Skulls again is a very, very simple game.
Yeah,
incredibly simple. It's what
4 discs.
Four discs. You get three flowers and a skull, and you've got to bluff. But basically, you put them down. You bluff as to
how many flowers you can
get without,
and try not to get a skull. Basically, that's the premise of it. Simple.
Like the old dice game, like how many 6s have I got?
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a modern incantation of that.
Nice.
Yeah, so one last question, guys, is pretty much, is there anything you're looking forward to? Or have you got any pre-orders on the way? Anything like that at all?
I'd hate to admit the amount of pre-orders I have. One of the biggest ones I have, I think I mentioned it to Si before, is Jurassic World, the miniatures game.
Yes, you did mention that on their episode,
yeah.
This is the one you were following while you were on holiday and yipping about.
The hilarious story that comes with that. That's due later this year. I've got far too many dinosaurs coming. Was working.
You're like me, man. You put Jurassic Park on the label, I'm there. I couldn't care what it was.
Well, I mean, give you a rough idea. It's both me and Ian have got the same pledges on this. Between us, we dropped nearly £600.
On just Kickstarters alone?
Just Kickstarters, yeah.
Wow.
There's about 12 boxes each. We've got 4 John Hammonds for so we can actually do the DNA. Sequence.
Hello, John.
Hello, John.
No way. Hello, John.
Oh, my.
Because why wouldn't you?
Exactly. If you got all that many John Hammonds, do it.
I think we got about 28 raptors, not including the named ones.
Yeah.
There's crazy amount of dinosaurs coming. I'm really, really looking forward to that.
When's it out?
That is actually, well, to be fair, it was June now, obviously before all of the world shutting down. But that's now due to arrive in October time.
This year?
This year.
Okay.
So I'm very much looking forward to that.
You're going to have to paint all of the miniatures.
I am going to have to paint all those miniatures. Dickie might be getting another.
So many John Hammonds to paint.
So yeah, that's probably my biggest game that I've got coming that I'm really looking forward to. There's a few turning up here and there. What else have I backed that I've got zoography coming. It's like a zoo, build a zoo tile laying game. That's due very, very soon. I think that's actually on the ship on the way over now. Due at some point this week is my copy of Dinogenics and the newest expansion as well. So I've got quite a few coming that I'm really looking forward to.
What about caging animals? Quite a theme.
Yeah. I like dinosaurs.
Yeah, right. Who doesn't?
Exactly. You were definitely a 90s kid.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I found that both my nephews at various points are obsessed with dinosaurs. I could tell you everything about all of them.
Dinosaurs and Power Rangers. That's what.
Yeah.
And even the dinosaurs were in Power Rangers.
Exactly. They were the Zords.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I'm thinking we should come back. You guys need to come back for a Power Ranger episode. Just talk about
I think
that.
we do.
Talk about that for a couple hours.
That's a mess that episode would be.
Yeah, it's all right. Just talk about the first 3 seasons done.
Before we even crack out that, have a game of Heroes of the Grid.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I think you need to get the toys down and just have them in the background as well.
So we'll replace the miniatures with the toys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, get some fresh batteries in there. You have to light up, have Tor. I've even got Tor, the massive.
Yeah. Oh my. Yes, I remember because you showed me. It's still in the box as well, isn't it?
Yeah, all boxed. Yeah, so you can put the Megazord in the back and have it ready.
I got dibs on Dragonzord. Done.
Dragonzord. So
we might be having a fight.
Yeah, I was going to say you're the green Ranger.
The Green Ranger.
I love the fact that you can actually make it the Mega Dragonzord.
You can. That was the beauty of 90s toys.
Insane.
Yeah.
Definitely not the same.
So, Simon, have you got anything you're waiting for or looking forward to?
As I said at the top, I'm less of a focused board gamer in that sense. I love playing them, but not something I've really heavily invested into money-wise. The thing I've got pre-ordered at the moment is D&D related.
Yep.
Which is a set of dungeon tiles. So that's physical terrain for back when we can play in real life.
Okay.
I really like having maps and stuff out on the table.
Yeah.
I tend to just draw stuff. I've got a few dry whiteboards and kind of set out terrain. I built a couple of bits out of cardboard. It looks all right. But these are official. I say official. They're pre-made by an actual company as opposed to me making stuff out of cereal boxes. And they are the Warlock tiles from WizKids.
Okay.
So it's a set of 26 interlocking tiles that are double-sided. One side looks like stone, so a dungeon type.
Okay.
The other side is wood, so it looks like a tavern.
Mm-hmm.
You can basically mix and match them in whatever fashion you like with varying walls and doors. So it's like this about as nerdy as I get in terms of buying stuff, but
Nothing wrong with being that nowadays, mate. So be proud of it.
I think it adds to the game if you've got the option for it to go.
Why not?
Oh, I describe the environment as well as I can, and then boom, put out this battle map that's 2 foot square, and people go, "Oh my god, look at that!"
It's the little things. It's like you said with your glow in the dark dice. So they glow in the dark. It's just a little bonus, mate.
Yeah. Well, look how excited I got when I found out that the Nemesis box and tokens were UV.
You got the black light out and you started doing it. Yeah,
I'm so excited by that. I'm such a nerd.
So, be proud of it, mate. We all are.
I am.
It's cool to be a nerd now. Remember.
Unless you wear a T-shirt that says #nerd on it, in which case
nerd. So yeah, I think I've got a couple on Kickstarter as well. Recently was Nemesis Lockdown, like literally because I'd played Nemesis. I think the Kickstarter was going to finish literally the next day.
Yeah, so, it was that tight.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm hooked. I've got to get Lockdown. Wayne said he wasn't going to get it, so it stops him getting it. And he can just play my copy whenever of it, so it makes sense to just do that.
It's quite good that it's a standalone expansion as well, so you don't have to have the original base game.
Yeah,
so
it's such a good
really
idea.
Good.
I did actually pre-order a copy on Kickstarter of Night of the Living Dead. Is coming out October this year. So I'm quite looking forward to that. Providing what's happening in the world hasn't delayed it, it's meant to be out in October this year. So fingers crossed it's still going to be on the way. And I actually backed one up recently, maybe a week ago, and it's called Escape the Night.
Yes, I've actually
which is Cluedo with monsters.
What?
Much.
Yeah. I was actually looking at that myself. To
Dude,
be fair,
£30 on Kickstarter.
Yeah,
done.
Yeah, we was looking at that. It's on my watch list to make a decision. On that one. But yeah, that's definitely something I'm watching.
So
I'm now imagining a modern version of Ghost Castle. Can you imagine how epic you could make that?
Don't get me started. That would be incredible.
Multi-room, 3D printed furniture.
That would be incredible. Oh. Like I said, I was playing it recently with my daughter. When you put the castle together, there's like a little door in the bottom corner, and you can see like a dog's eyes coming through it.
Yeah, the hound.
Little detail.
Yeah.
All it is. It's just... That's all it took back then.
You almost need to be child-sized to notice, don't you?
This is it, exactly. And I was, mate, this is an incredible game. Very underrated kids game.
Yeah. To be fair, there's quite a few on Kickstarter at the moment which were catching my eye the other day when I was going through them. The names are escaping me. I'm sort of desperately flicking through at the minute, trying to find the ones that I was...
I'm generally scared to look on Kickstarter.
But that Escape the Night thing, like in Cluedo, you used to put cards in an envelope, didn't you? Well, in this version... You get a little box and you vote. Like you put a little coin in and you vote that it was this person with this monster and sort of thing. And it seems very like cool little thing. Like I said, £30. It's not exactly 250 quid versus worth of Nemesis. Is it?
I quite like seeing games on there for that sort of price because they're worth taking a punt on.
Yeah,
they may not look like, but game of the year, winners, but. At the end of the day, I don't only want to play Game of the Year winners. I want to play every game. If there was enough hours in the day, I would play every single board game in the world. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But it's physically impossible.
Calculation. How long would it take to play every single game?
It's true though.
Even on speed mode.
I was going to say the other thing is how many board games are there in the world? There's plenty out there that are readily available, but then if you're going to count in the ones
how would you catalogue that?
Does that include ones you made yourself?
Well, exactly.
Because come on, I admit I made a game when I was a kid.
I made a board game as a school project.
There you go.
In year 4 or year 5.
It's actually interesting. You'd said that because that's actually something me and Ian are doing at the moment.
Wow.
We're actually working on 3 different board games.
It's
awesome.
It's Monopoly Crawley.
Yeah.
Stab me edition.
Please tell me it's AWF the board game. Please.
No. We
can get like a little mini JSEV.
I'm personally working on a wrestling card game.
Oh, awesome.
I only really started properly recently, but that'll be. I'll probably bring it to you guys to actually test that out.
Yeah, definitely.
You heard it first.
Yeah,
exclusive.
That is technically exclusive for here. I've not really told anyone about that yet.
That's awesome, dude. I look forward to that.
Yeah. I'm kind of proud you done it on here and not your own one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go. See, I'm a nice guy, really.
You are.
Contrary to popular
You're
belief.
definitely coming back on the show.
I'm not breaking news every time. No.
You're going to be back for the Power Ranger episode. Come on.
Definitely. I will come back. I will talk Power Rangers over and over again.
This is it.
Because Green Ranger is life.
No, technically white is, right?
Yeah, well...
That's another episode. We're going to keep going.
It's only because
We've lost them. We've lost them.
I was really happy that the guy that designed our podcast logo for us, that he managed to get the Green Ranger helmet on my T-shirt and get it past all of the copyright so that we could actually get it printed.
So you actually get it printed on there.
So if you look at the one that's got cartoon animated versions of me and Ian, there is actually
that's on your Instagram, isn't it?
It is indeed. There's a Green Ranger on my T-shirt.
Do you know what? I never noticed that. I'll go back and look at them. I'm going to be like, hashtag look at this. Copyright.
And again, just to keep it thematic, pretty much every bit of the clothing and my hair in that picture is also green, like the Green Ranger.
Ah.
See, there's hidden
all these years
meanings.
before he was a Red Ranger guy. Now it turns out
Jason wins. He is the nerd of the table.
If we really want to be nerdy,
we're not worthy.
You've got the actual name, the guy that plays the Green Ranger, Jason David Frank. JDF is exactly the same initials as me.
Wow. I never fucking knew that.
There you go, see? You got to try and figure out what my
Jason
middle
was
name
actually
is now.
Pete up until 1996. And he changes his name.
They legally changed it. Right.
I want to be like that guy.
I want to be like the Green Ranger. Nerd. Right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on. That was a good chat about all the board games and stuff. Do you want to just last minute plug in your podcasts?
Yeah, thanks again for having me, man. Board Stupid is our one. You can find us on Twitter, mainly on Facebook at Board Nerd. Board Stupid is the name of the show. Also, find us at the comic shop as and when that comes open again. Always nice to have chats in person. Otherwise, find us on the line. And our main host is anchor.fm/boardstupid, BOARD.
Nice. We're on literally every single version of the socials. Just search for the podcast with Crawley Gaming Community. You can also find the Crawley Gaming Community group if you want to connect with other gaming members around Crawley. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that rubbish. The podcast with Crawley Gaming Community.
Thanks, guys. So, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Really appreciate you coming down and, like I said, taking the time to come down and just talk about stuff that involves your podcast. But
apparently neither of us will ever shut up. So,
but no, please come back.
Nice
It'll be really
it.
nice if you guys can come back again and do another episode with us.
We would really love to come back.
100%.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
So
you
that's M.T.V.B. Podcast. You can follow us on Facebook at the M.T.V.B. Podcast or on Instagram at M.T.V.B. Podcast. Not .com, because that's a website. At M.T.V.B. Podcast. I am M.T.V.B. Podcast. I'm Matt Man, signing off.